Welcome, Dynamo fans, to another episode of Inside the Hexagon, the podcast brought to you by the Striker Texas, where we go in and around the club, try to give you a better idea of all the goings ons and happenings. Obviously, this week a big week for Houston. The biggest news: Alberto Carrasquilla purchased. Coco is staying, so we'll talk about that. I don't know. We may have put pressure after last week, asking him
I
what's
think
going
so.
on, and nobody could tell us anything. Um, there's a good and the bad, right? There was a bad loss in DC.
Mm,
The Open Cup kind of brought things back a little bit. We'll see. And then two important 2 game homestand coming up. Nashville's coming to town. Return of Joe Willis, followed up by a short turnaround. Next week, Seattle coming to town
hmm
with the Will Bruin as the CONCACAF champion. So let's get started here. Again, brought to you by StrikerTexas.com. If you want to follow all your Texas teams, Houston Dynamo, Houston Dash, Houston Dynamo 2, there's no better way to get some coverage. So, Laura, um, opening remarks for today. What do you got?
I mean, you said it all. You said everything. So I'm just gonna say ditto to everything you just said. I think that those were the highlights of this week. And let's kind of break it down and see what we think, if we concur with certain opinions of the games, or if we differ in what happened this week with the Dynamo.
All right, well, let's get on. So let's recap a little bit of this Open Cup here. These are the
Mm-hmm.
highlights from Wednesday night. The last two teams remaining after FC Dallas got eliminated against Sporting Kansas City. They were actually winning that game, but well, we'll see. So Houston brought a little bit of a strong lineup out, right?
Yeah.
Mike, a few names we expected, right? Michael Nelson in goal, back four of Sarek Valentine, um, Griffin Dorsey, also Ethan Bartlow and San Junca. Midfield with Darwin Sere, Memo Rodriguez. We saw Brooklyn Reigns there, the 17-year-old. That was kind of expected, right? That was kind of what came out against RGV. But the front three, Laura, um, Thiago, one of the Brazilian signings,
Mm-hmm.
um, Fafa Pico on the other wing, right? After missing the DC game, which we'll get to here later. And your $6.5 million man, Sebastian Ferreira, that were on the field. So maybe this Open Cup is a little bit more important than we think. Um, Houston, though, I think continues to maybe go a little too defensive, invite some teams. We see San Antonio here had a couple of opportunities, wasn't completely clinical, but as far as
Mm-hmm.
opportunities,
Yeah, I
Houston
think
really
there
could
were
have
there were
generated
good
better ones, and
opportunities.
we just saw Memo there. We've been asking for angry Memo. He just missed one in front of goal. I know a lot of fans are criticizing him for that one. Um, your overall thoughts on this game, just the way it went. Obviously, we'll see the winner here from Ferreira coming up.
Yeah.
If you're watching this along with us on YouTube, but yeah, just overall thoughts on this game, Houston against San Antonio.
I mean, look, don't I think that there's several different kinds of reactions. I think that a lot of people are excited about it and others were not. Because they don't really, I mean, yes, it's important for the US Open Cup and it's good and blah blah blah, but I think that people have gotten to the point that they really don't care about the extras and they really just want to make it to the playoffs. So just really how you want to see it. So there's like different people, going either way. Some saw the positive side, and then other ones were like, yeah, but it was against San Antonio. We have to beat teams that are within the same range to get into the playoffs. So it was kind of like some people see it as a band-aid and others see it as a positive step forward. I don't know how important this cup really is. I don't know. It's kind of like a band-aid, like I just mentioned, to what the team's going through right now for the season, trying to see if they can save the season if they win this cup, or if it's something that points to the team that's really growing and that will make it to the playoffs. I'm still kind of
Yeah,
undecided.
yeah. Houston, by the way, again getting the winning goal by Sebastian Ferreira, coming off a corner. right? The short kick over to Sam Junka, who sent it in for Ferreira. Again,
Mm-hmm.
Houston, the last team standing from Texas in this competition. Um, I asked head coach Paulo Nagamura earlier in the week. What
Mm-hmm.
actually before this game, what is the importance of this Open Cup? How much, in relation to the MLS season, do you prioritize it?
The parallels.
And,
Mm-hmm.
and would you be frustrated, or how frustrated would you be? How disappointed if your team were to get eliminated by San Antonio tomorrow night?
Mm-hmm.
His response, Laura, was, of course, the MLS season is more important. It's good. He said the club's always prioritized the
Mm-hmm.
MLS season. We do have those comments, by the way, on strikertexas.com. You can always go and check those out. Um, and he did say he was going to be disappointed if they lost, but he did make that clear. MLS is the priority. I do
Yep.
think, and I think I've been mentioning this for the last couple of games now. Houston, and I might have mentioned this. I think when I mentioned this was on the Striker MLS podcast. The way this season is going, I think for the Houston Dynamo, it would be an important thing to focus on this Open Cup, because I think this is the closest chance this year to get some silverware,
So we're
right?
saying it as it's a band-aid kind of thing.
Of
Or like in
It's not a
Spanish,
bad
how we
day.
say contentillo, like kind of
No, no,
like
no, no, no,
like
because I think the objective is still to make the playoffs. I think even
mm-hmm.
if you win the Open Cup but you don't make the playoffs, I mean, it's a failure of a season.
Exactly.
Um, but I do think if you win this Open Cup and you make the playoffs, I mean, it's probably maybe best case scenario, because I don't think this team, even when Herrera gets here, will be an MLS Cup contender the way it's going for this season. And yeah, in a way, it is a band-aid. In a way, it is, because this team is not ready to compete, I think, the way it is today, the way they play. And we're going to get to this DC game here shortly.
Yo.
It's not ready to hang with some of the big boys, I think.
No, and I agree with
Sure.
you. I mean, I agree with you. Before we go into talking with the DC game, I mean, I think that for me was a perfect example that they're not going to be able to hang with teams like, Seattle that just beat, a huge, Liga MX team. And I think that it's something that, I mean, I don't want to say worrisome. I know that it's not that I'm
It's the
being negative
reality. I
or
think
or
I think
I don't
that
want, it's not saying that they can't do it or blah blah, but I just like I agree with you. I don't think that this season they're going to win. But I think that in the perspective as a fan or as a reporter, I don't really care if they win this, other side cup. I just want them to make it to the playoffs. It's been how long? Like that's the honest truth for me. I don't really care whether they get eliminated or not. I don't. If they win it, okay, that's good. But at the end of the day, right now, the priority for me would be the MLS and getting to the playoffs, even if they don't win, because I don't think that they would win with the current team right now. But I think that that would be the number one priority. The other stuff is just extra noise.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe the unwanted thing for as you're mentioning, if you don't want the extra noise, of course, if you win the Open Cup, it does qualify you for the Concacaf Champions League, which again would be more games, would mean a
Mm-hmm.
tougher start to the season. Um, Winning the Open Cup gives you the same prize money as the MLS Cup. So as far as a comparison, right, or essentially the same. It's the same ball. It's the same ball range, right? Same ballpark. Um, so
I think
you
that
can
this
you
goes
can make the
beyond, it
argument.
goes beyond like what you're saying, like the comparison. And I think that's good for our, audience to
Yeah,
really know the comparison when it comes down to the nitty gritty. But when it comes down to like say kind of the pride thing or just like the history of the team, um,
right,
it's the MLS for me. It's for me, it's making it to the
right.
playoffs. I mean,
No,
how
and I
many more
mean
years can
media
this
coverage,
team go without making
merchandise
it to the playoffs?
sales.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the MLS Cup is going to bring you more notoriety for sure. Yeah. So I guess again, different strokes for different folks. We've seen some people say, "Hey, go for the Open Cup."
Yeah.
We saw how that was a bright spot for people in 2018. Others
Mm-hmm.
they're agreeing with you. They say, "Forget about it."
Like a flashback. I mean, we already got it in 2018. Why do we need another one? Let's go and make it to the playoffs.
Yeah, get another MLS Cup, get a third one. All right. Let's go into this
Steve
DC
Clark,
game, Laura.
remember him? 8 appearances for DC United.
Because this is
From 2017 to 2018, and we're underway. It is rain-soaked Audi Field. I do mean soaked. It just, what would you describe? Just waves of water have been falling. Made some big saves.
Maybe some people were overlooking.
Looking for Ferreira now. He gets behind Birnbaum. Hamid is out. This is Quintero. This could be trouble.
When you look at it,
Quintero's still dancing on it.
We talked about it.
Goes across the 6. He's appealing for a handball as Quintero.
It was for
really
me,
just
kind of
a nice ball in. Aaron Quintero can't really get a touch to it. Ends up falling for Ferreira, and then he picks up the loose ball at that moment there.
What the Dynamo was showing to prior games when you look at it in paper.
Columbus did a good job.
Fortunately, I was
negating him.
And again, if you
back heel by Gressel
with us on YouTube,
Futas, the shot.
Some
Taxi
chances,
magic
by the way, look, there's a
on display.
He decides this little clever little back heel from Gressel. And it's Futas. He's deciding just have a go. It's a difficult angle, but just putting that into a dangerous position inside the 6. You've got the run from Estrada. Maybe could have thrown off Steve Clark. I think that's hitting the top crossbar.
Saw some of the chances. Quintero
does the right thing here to Steve Clark.
Not so clear in the beginning, but Dynamo were inactive.
Estrada in the East 6-yard box.
That's kind of got in the first half.
Whistles it in, coming through. Futas, it's in the net.
If you scouted DC United, this is one of the players that you should pay attention to.
Taxi.
He's been with DC for a couple of years. Well, actually, he's only been playing with DC.
They wanted more set pieces, and that's why.
Look at the movement inside the box. Everyone just going to the near post. It's distracting the Houston Dynamo players. Everyone falls asleep in orange. Taxi Futas, the new DP for the black and red, just atop of the 18. The quality of the ball from Julian Gressel. 2 lanes right in stride to Futas, who decides he's not striking it for power. He's just going for accuracy. Hits it with the inside of his right foot. Hits the ground first, but on the slick surface.
I do agree with you. I think it was a very winnable game.
That's Brad Smith. Here comes the service. Taxi. Traps it down. Still Taxi. The shot.
Adam Wonk essentially gives him
this guy can score. Taxi Futas. Second of the night. Second for DC.
You give this guy 2 goals.
Deja vu.
The crazy thing to me, it's not just the goals.
Steve Clark behind Zach playing the Indian to hard roll on the far side, trying to be a creator. Brad Smith.
This guy got 11 shots.
Fantastic position. He got past Heinzike, puts a dangerous ball in. Right there, you thought maybe
get whoever
the chance had gotten wasted, but Lundqvist unable to win the challenge.
We got to get
the man from Greece. It's his second goal. Just rise off that challenge right there and just laces through it. Steve Clark can't react quick enough. The pace behind it.
Good work by Smith. Now Flores.
Right?
Yeah.
See if he has options. Futas gets up for it. And Clark has to make a save. Not done. Gressel. Pinballs at the 6. Davey clears it. And DC United still in the attack.
But
pressure from Brad Smith, Edison Flores as well. Edison Flores the one to pick up the loose ball, deflected by Brad Smith, and he picks out the back post runner. This one's a Taxi Futas. Can't generate a whole lot of power given he's flat-footed, given the pace behind the ball, but he's still dangerous and heading it on target.
Now I wrote in my 3 takeaways, regardless.
Number 8 steps up.
Or without Papa.
Now Quintero slots it across the save by
Part of it is a strategy.
Still not done it. Finally, Romo smothers it. But Vera thought he might have a goal.
Yeah,
nice little combination. Vera just puts the entry pass in, and he just continues his run. Ferreira feeling like he got pulled down, but because Vera continued his run, he just falls. The ball falls right at his feet.
They're scoring because the player.
And yes, that's the sound you want to hear if you were a DC United supporter. They did it.
Be guarding that.
The clean sheet, set pieces.
So for me,
goals.
it's kind of like, okay, if I'm looking at these errors that for me would be something very easily that's solved, I'm pretty sure that the players have to watch these games again, right? I mean, at some point they have to watch the errors, but it's something that keeps happening because this is not the first time that they're scored on because a player comes, finds the ball, has enough time to set up a play, has enough time to make the goal. So it's a thing of not being defensive enough. It's not being, I don't know if it's not being attentive enough of where the ball's at. And obviously not being offensive enough because you're not scoring to kind of amend the errors that you made in the back. So I think that the team's scrambling all over the in this particular game, I didn't see any strongs. I didn't see a good defense. I didn't see a good mid. I really didn't see a good forward. So this game for me was one for to forget about, honestly.
One to forget. Yeah, and that's the thing about this is it's the third straight defeat for Houston, right? The other ones, I guess, we hiding them a little more because they were Texas rivalries. Maybe this one, and also because this one's on the road and the Dynamo's history playing away.
But it's an excuse at the end, Yeah.
No, it is, and the thing is, and this is, and one of the things Ferreira mentioned after the Open Cup game is, they can't leave any more points at home because they've already given up points in what has it been, like three, 4 home games, right? They gotta take some back on the road. That's why that Miami win was important because it got you 3 points back that you should have probably had at home somewhere in one of the first games. If it was against the poor Miami side, that didn't matter. The point is that you were getting points back.
Exactly.
This was an opportunity in DC to at least come back with one. I do think that
how we talked about it. That's the bare minimum that could happen. A point.
Yeah, looking at it on paper, looking at what the Dynamo has to work with, seeing the ability of some of these players,
and DC
knowing
as well.
what some of these other players, even the ones coming off the bench, can and should give you. It's underachieving, I think, and for the first time, well, at least in a while, I believe this season as well, they're below the playoff line, right, in the West. Now they kind of got to work their way back. It's a direct game here against Nashville coming up, but that's not going to be an easy contest. Seattle's going to start making a run. And the other part is, who else is going to make a run from these teams that are behind Houston?
It just gets more complicated. If you didn't get these points in these quote unquote, and not to kind of, demeanor the rest of the teams like DC, but the quote unquote easy games, if you can't handle those when it looks winnable on paper, then what's going to happen when you kind of go against a team that really has a strong team and it is a team that is a contender in the playoffs? What's the score going to be like? Right. It's just something that worrisome for sure.
There is some good news though for the team. We've talked about the no, and it is probably
good news.
The one player that has stood out in these games has been none other than Coco Carrasquilla. Let's see if we can get him on the screen.
I'm like, hey, Coco, you got a haircut, but that's you.
Yeah, there you
there
go.
you go. You kind of see him.
That's as good as we can do here. Yeah. So what do you think of this signing? We talked about how important it is to finally see it come to fruition, to see them, put a check mark in that box, keeping Coco Carrasquilla here for a long time.
I think that it's really good, not only because he's a player that has shown that he has potential to even grow more, but he knows he's a smart player for me. He knows what he can do with the tools, the players, co-workers, if you want to say, that he has available to him. The other thing that I really also liked was that interview that you did with him, and that he mentioned that he wanted to be with the team. And I think that's something that's important because that gives you an extra push. For whatever reason, he wants to stay in Houston or he wants to stay in the MLS and use it as a trampoline to go somewhere else, or because he likes the MLS. Whatever the reason is, he wants to be here. He wants to be in Houston. And I don't know if all the players in the team currently can really truthfully say that they want to be in the team and at this precise moment. So I think
I disagree. I think they want to be in the team. I think they want to be in Houston. Do they deserve to have a spot? I think that's the argument. That's what
I don't know. I don't know. The performances that I've seen from a lot of players, I really don't think that they want to be in the team.
No, but they like to cash that paycheck.
But that's something different, saying I want to cash that paycheck, than saying I really want to stay in this team because I want to stay in it, not only because I want to have that cash, but for other reasons, I think, but not really show it. But what I'm saying is, in my opinion, I think that Coco qualifies in the sense that he does want to stay. He is trying to prove
I think
himself.
he's been the best player on this team.
Exactly.
Bar
And I
none.
think he deserves it. I think that he's showing a lot more than other players that do say that they want to stay, but they're not showing it. Like, if you're going to talk, you also have to back it up at the end of the day, for me. And I think that he's one of the few players that have shown that he wants to really stay.
Yeah, and he's still 23. This is a player that
Young.
you can either grow the club with, or you can take advantage of a couple seasons and then send him off to Europe, maybe make a profit out of him. We can argue. Well, but there is no arguing. Panama didn't make it to the World Cup, but this would have been, if Panama had gone to the World Cup, this would have been a key player for them, and that would have been a great opportunity for him to get seen as well, and then that would have accelerated that process. But and you also have to wonder how much that drove the price down, right, for him. In the end, he stays, right, and I think it's something that works out for everyone. It works out for the Spanish club where he was at in the second division in Spain, FC Cartagena. I believe it's their biggest transfer in club history. For Houston, again, it's Luis Ortiz, Telemundo, reporting that it's a fee, I think, close to 2 million, which honestly is a bargain for a player that you already know, that doesn't have to adapt. Again, that's essentially been your MVP for the season, and you still have the rest of the season to go. We can start now to not it's no longer a what if, right? We can actually start to now say, all right, a midfield with Hector Herrera and Alberto Carrasquilla, and who else is in it, right? Now we can have to start that debate. Is it Darwin Quintero, and is that going to be a trident that helps them succeed in MLS? Does Matias Vera become the odd man out, or is Mati Vera part of that midfield with those three? And then does Darwin Quintero then get either moved to the bench, or does he get moved up to one of the wings? There's something
different
to work
combinations.
with
yeah. It's going to be interesting.
And trying to make this team a little bit more, again, going forward, stronger in midfield, a team to maybe be reckoned with a little more in the league, put teams on their heels a little bit, but we still have a little bit of ways to get there, and maybe that's what the team is waiting for. I don't know. I mean, maybe they're just kind of trying to be defensive here. But let me tell you something, Laura. It's gonna be a while before Herrera gets here.
I know. I mean, it's like forever, but I don't mean to laugh when you said defensive, but I'm like, if I look at games like DC, I'm like, okay, well, that's not working out either. So
right. All right. So 2 home games, right? Important here. This Saturday, Nashville. Next Wednesday against Seattle. And then a road trip starts there, right? At LA on the 22nd, at Salt Lake on the 28th. A bit of a break in June. They go to Orlando on the 18th. Their next home game after this 2-game stretch will be until essentially a month later, June 25th against the Chicago Fire.
It's a long time.
Then again on the road at Portland on a short rest. And then that's when until July you come back home again for back-to-back games against Charlotte and against FC Dallas, which is essentially when we've seen as a projected date for Hector Herrera to debut. So you still got 3, 4, 5 games after this 2-game stretch here. A lot of points on the table. Not the easiest opponents, right? Nashville this weekend.
I mean,
the first one.
Nashville has been having a great season. I think that they've only lost once.
And they've been a team, a very good defensive team since they've come into the league. Some people have mentioned, right, former Dynamo goalkeeper Joe Willis, right, part of that defense that has been stingy with goals, that has got into the playoffs. And again, that's just another example of a player that used to be here and is succeeding elsewhere. So now he comes into town, and we'll see how this goes on Saturday. I think as we preview some of this, do you think this is going to be easier or harder than the games you've already had at home?
Are you asking me this question right now? I mean,
yeah.
I think that they're going to be a little harder. I think that this, at least with Nashville, it's going to be a little bit more complicated. Because like you mentioned, it's a team that is not easily, penetrated in the back to be scored on. But they also have action going on in the front. So I do not see it as an easy opponent.
I mean, they can play at home.
I don't see it easily. If for whatever reason the Dynamo does win, it would probably be a 1-0. I mean, if they could keep it 0-0, that would be, in my eyes, it would be considered a win for the team, even though they're home, and at home you should win all the games. But unfortunately, I don't see the home team right now with the tools that they need to really succeed at home or wherever they're going to play. So for Nashville, a 0-0 or a tie would be considered a win for, in my eyes. And if winning a 1-0, that would be like a major accomplishment. I mean, that would be maybe the turnaround in what's coming up next, and
I do think they have to start. They do have to start turning it around. For some that might look at the standings and say, well, their goal difference is about 1, right? They haven't been as stout defensively this year, but there's a reason for that, right? Nashville has been playing on the road for the first stretch of 3 months before they opened their new home just a couple weeks ago. Their Soccer Pacific Stadium, the largest Soccer Pacific Stadium in the league, 30,000 seats. Look, we're talking about the 10th anniversary this year of BBA, now PNC, right?
PNC.
You can imagine now what Nashville's going through. That place looks, from the looks on TV, it looks rocking. It looks like
amazing.
Obviously, it's been a team that has tapped into the country music vibe of Nashville. We've talked about they do have with Joe Willis. They have been a bit defensive, but they have started to be a little more attacking with Hani Mukhtar, who, if I'm not mistaken, was in the MVP conversation last year. So, I do think, and obviously with a lot of road games this year, they're a little bit more prepared. Maybe they did get a win at Kansas City, tied in San Jose.
They've had up till now they've had a good season.
Early in the year, for however much you want to put stock in it, the first game of the season they won at Seattle. So I do think it's maybe a little bit more winnable, but again, it all depends. Like all these games, it depends how much Houston puts to their part. I mean, it's some of it is tactical, like right. Just the going forward a little more. We've talked about how Fafa Pico could maybe bring a little bit better results.
His thing is just finishing, because he does a great job of running. He does a great job. I mean, he has a lot of physical. He has a lot of talent, but it just comes down to finishing.
I still say it's finding Ferreira, right? It's trying to just focus on getting the ball to him inside the box. Whatever means necessary. Let's wind it down here, Laura. So we got Nashville here coming up. We talked about Carrasquilla. I believe that's probably it's just, well, we had the Open Cup game. So
but you want to say, so you're saying it's a winnable game? This is what you just said.
Well, it's more. So I was gonna cause some problems there for our producer. It's more winnable than the road games. It is. It's way more winnable than these road games. And I think you have to look at them in that sense. I mean, if you want to be a serious team in Major League Soccer, right? You want to talk about being an MLS Cup contender, like we've heard the hierarchy here say, right? That the owner Ted Siegel, the hierarchy the general manager Pat Onstad, the assistant general manager Asher Mendelson, the head coach Paulo Nagamura. It's time to prove it. I mean, it's time to put the results on the field and show what this team is made of. I mean, I think, for as much to say that for a lot of people, it really was just let's switch the coach out and the GM and boom, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we've talked about how there's still a lot
but
of
these changes
those
changes had to be done. The GM at least had to be done a while back and everything. So I do want to say that there's a lot of action that has been going on that wasn't done prior. But again, it's just I feel like it's been like a rebuilding team. The Dynamo has been a rebuilding team forever. So I think
and I know people say it takes time and as long as we get to playoffs this year, and I'm telling people there's a possibility the way this team is going that there will be no playoffs this year. And then what are you going to say then? Wait till next year? No, I mean I think there is.
I think they have to put a little bit more in
their part.
Yeah,
put a little bit more.
Playoffs are a must. It's not a maybe. It's a must. It's a do or die. Seriously, it's a do or die.
Yeah, and I don't know how much, again, I mentioned it at the beginning of the season. If you get into a hole, I don't know how much Hector Araiza is going to be able to pull you out of that hole. And especially, we're all assuming he's going to arrive July 7th or whenever it is, that game against FC Dallas.
Shape.
He could arrive in August, right? He could start. I mean, we have no guarantee that Araiza is going to start playing immediately in July. Anyways, that's my rant there. Get the 3 points against Nashville. Then we can focus. Then we can start unwrapping that a little bit. But I do think if you keep dropping points, and then we gotta sound the alarms a little more, because this ain't.
I'm sounding them now.
Well,
I'm traumatized after the DC
game.
Smoke.
You got smoke coming out at your house.
I mean, I'm just after the DC game. I was like, whoa. This is something that yeah. So hopefully we'll see. Hopefully they prove me wrong. They proved me wrong about winning and tying. They lost. So hopefully they'll prove me wrong and they'll win against Nashville, but we'll see. As always, let us know your thoughts. We're always here to really chat respectfully and really hear you guys out and see what you think. And everything and anything of local sports. Check out the Striker Texas if you haven't already.
Yeah, plenty of coverage over the weekend with that DC game, the U.S. Open Cup game, game story, takeaways. There is a Brad Davis story there for anyone who wants to hear what the former Dynamo had to say. We're working on a story for you with President John Walker and some of the impact of Hector Herrera of Maria Sanchez to the organization. So.
Yes.
And by the way, Laura, locker rooms are starting to open back up in MLS, which will give us a little bit more access at home and then especially on the road. So we can bring you a little bit more exclusive content, if we put it that way, compared to just
it's different.
doing everything on Zoom and everybody gets the same material, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, thestrikertexas.com. If you have not subscribed, I think now's the perfect time. Try it out. The first 30 days are free, so you won't be charged right away. Give it a chance, and then if you like it, just let the automatic subscription, get billed. And we promise you won't regret it if you like soccer coverage. For Laura Gomez, I'm Victor Araiza. We'll see you next time here on Inside the Hexagon.
Bye.